Anyone can take a picture, but there's something special about being able to tell a story through the photos that you take. A picture that takes somebody back to that moment, or lets them feel what they were feeling in that moment. Or somebody that was not a part of the moment, has never seen the picture before, creating that same emotion in that person. That is special. If you want to tell stories through the photos you take, it starts with composition. How you frame your photo, what you choose to include in your pictures, and what you choose to leave out. These are my 3 tips for how to tell stories through the photos that you take. Tip number 1, include all elements of the moment in your photo. I've seen photos, in fact, I've taken photos that are flat. I'm not sure there's a better word to describe them than that. Let me give some examples. This is Mary Page, and it's her bridesmaid reveal. So this photo is fun, and you can probably guess what the story is since you've likely seen plenty of wedding photos before. But this photo tells the story, and all it takes is simply changing the composition. You might have to step back or rearrange the room, but do it because it's always worth it to be able to tell the story. Okay, these next 2 shots are of Lauren's first look with her dad. This one really does tell a story. I was including all elements of the moment, or so I thought, but I quickly noticed Lauren's mom and sister watching the first look off in the distance. Immediately, I shifted my camera to catch all elements of that moment, and it tells the complete story. This shot is from Garrett and Ashley's first look. I'm including this just to quickly point out that I could have zoomed in and stood in a place that was solely focused on Garrett, but I knew it would be a better and more complete image if I showed Ashley behind him preparing for her groom to turn around. Tip number 2, take the obvious shot, then look for the unique parts of the story. So this is Bryson, and it's during her bridesmaid prayer. So these next couple of photos are of the same moment, but they tell different stories, and both are important. This one could be considered more of an obvious shot. I mean, hello, that chandelier obviously needed to be included. So this photo tells the story of where they are, the room, the chandelier, the elegance, the quietness of that moment. But this one tells the story of how they're feeling, the love, the excitement, the anticipation. It speaks to the intimacy of the moment, and it's focused on the bride there. Another example of this, Alex and Mary Page decided to not do a first look, but they still made time for a sweet moment to pray and read their vows to each other before the ceremony. This first picture is the obvious shot. I had to get the photo of their prayer. But when the bride and groom are praying, there's really no need to take 17 photos that look almost exactly the same, right? So I stepped back and I noticed that Mary Page had her vows in her hand. So I took this shot to tell an entirely different story. In fact, this happened by chance, but Alex's name is the only word that can be read in her vows. Mary Page loved that about this photo. Last example here was shot during a ceremony in September. I listened when the pastor announced that a couple of the bride's relatives weren't able to make it due to the coronavirus, and when I saw this lady FaceTiming relatives in during the ceremony, I knew I wanted to capture that story. COVID, pandemics, FaceTime calls, family. This photo tells a story that will be remembered for a very long time. Hey. Can I call you back in like literally 2 minutes?
Yeah. Did I interrupt something?
Yeah, I'm recording.
Oh no, you messed it up.
It's okay.
Well, what are we doing for dinner?
I was gonna cook. Did you want to do something else?
No, I was just wondering if you wanted me to pick something.
I was gonna start the soup in a minute.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to. Yeah. I'll call you back in a minute.
Okay.
And that brings us to the last tip for how to tell stories through your photos, and that is always be on the lookout for real emotion and be ready to capture that emotion when it happens. I do a lot of things during my sessions and on wedding days to create a space where people can show real emotion. And a lot of times it's not the action that I ask of people that gets that real emotion, it's the reaction. Be ready to catch those moments on camera. It's easy to want to laugh along with them, but this is your golden opportunity to get those beautiful photos that show emotion and tell a story. When a couple is laughing because they're genuinely having a great time together, that transfers into beautiful images that tell the story of their relationship. When a mom sheds a tear during the ceremony, that tells a very clear story of how she's feeling in those sacred moments. So seek to create a space where your couples and your clients can show true emotion and then be ready to capture their reactions. Okay, so that's it. Those are my 3 tips for how to tell better stories through the photos that you take. I hope you take these things and use them in your next session, and let me know what you think.
You've become my